I made 3 intros. I'm exhausted. Please forgive me. Hey everyone, so this is the video that I have been talking about making, the one where I want to dive into an AI comment section because the artists are at it again and they are just going on and on about how dangerous AI is. And the purpose of this video is to show you the type of misinformation that's being widely spread around, because I know it seems like these artists are just being like super manipulative. I would say that they are, but not in the way that you think. They're honestly extremely misinformed, and that's where a lot of their decision making is coming from. If they were properly informed, I doubt that they would have the opinions that they have, but at the same time, there's almost no chance that they're going to be properly informed because they don't want to understand the information. You know, it's just really stubborn mentality, and it's because they're scared. So with all that being said, I'm just going to get into this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot read all of these comments out or we will be here all day. I'm putting every screenshot up on screen so you can read it yourself, but I'm going to be summing them up. So forgive me if every now and then I don't read a comment out, because there's just so much that they said. So basically we got here because my friend showed me a post and I didn't know I would be making a video on this at the time. I was looking at all the posts and the misinformation that was being spread, and I read out a few comments like midway through, and I even posted a comment myself, but as I kept going, then I just decided to make a video on it because it was just too ridiculous not to. And as an artist, I'm sick of this. So that's how we got here. So since this is Facebook and I don't want people to get attacked, I'm going to be like blurring out the names. But there's a couple of names that I do want to highlight and I'm a little iffy about because they're artists and I want them to be supported. So I will be giving them like a fake name in the video. Okay, so scratch that. I was originally going to censor the names, but it got way too confusing on how to keep track of who was saying what to who because Facebook's comments are so convoluted. It's crazy. So it's just gonna jeopardize the whole video because there's like a million comments, and I tried to point out who was saying what to who and I lost my mind. Point is, these people are misinformed. Like, leave them alone. You have to educate people on this stuff because they really don't know what's going on. And if they don't want to listen, then just continue to inform people who are still iffy, because there's way more people who don't know what's going on and are trying to figure it out than there are people who are yelling about this. It's mostly just the art community that is angry. So just keep that in mind, leave people alone. And I'm just showing this video to let you see all the different perspectives out there on this subject because I wanted to give these people a voice, as small as it may be. To keep this video as short as possible, I'm going to be skipping pieces of comments, entire comments, because I'm going to be here for like 8 fucking hours reading everything out and giving my own opinion. So you'll have to pause and read it yourself if you want more information. That's why I'm not premiering this video. And yeah, I'm just going to do the best that I can to show you an actual comment section of people being massively misinformed on this topic. I already did a video about this subject, but now you get to see how people are being massively misinformed on other websites. You get to see some of the dialogue going around, and you get to understand that this is much bigger than Sarah. She's not the only one, and she was probably misinformed from people like the person who made this post or from this actual post. I'm gonna read each box and then I'm gonna read the comments in response to each box as I go. All right, let's get started. What is Lensa? Lensa AI works by inviting users to upload 10 to 20 photos of themselves. Using the open source stable diffusion model, the app processes your photos to generate avatars of you that look like they were created by a digital artist, TechCrunch. So what's the problem? Okay, so that was the first box. I'm gonna read a couple comments here. It says, AI seems to not understand the concept of hands. A lot of artists struggle with hands, but AI pulls some shit out of nightmares when it comes to anything below the elbow. And it is true. But the funny thing is, that's very human-like. Because humans have always struggled with hands, AI is also having a hard time as well. And, you know, humans struggle with eyes, AI struggles with eyes. Humans struggle with ears, AI struggles with ears. It's almost like the same thing. It says, hope no one uses the app. So right off the bat, they're already going in, commenting, not even knowing what's going on. The next one says, the problem. Stable Diffusion uses copyright art from artists all over the world in order to work. So this first box is already misinformed. It's not copyrighted art from artists. It's stuff that people uploaded that everyone's able to look at and see. So the same way how I can look at an image and draw inspiration from it, AI is also allowed to look at images on the internet and draw inspiration from it, regardless of what that image is. So here it says, but if it didn't use that artwork, the artist in question wouldn't get either compensation or exposure. All development, artistic as well as scientific, is based on standing on the shoulders of what came before. I certainly think artists should get paid, but I'm not sure I endorse copyrights and trademarks at all. A much better solution would be to let all artists be part of some form of academia that would pay them, much like scientists who get a steady paycheck for their academic place of employment rather than payment for individual articles or ideas. In general, I think a lot of this is better solved by demanding social change through left-wing political action than by preserving and honoring copyrights. And you can see the responses here is a lot of laughing and anger. They're just like, how dare you demand that people just earn a living as a basic right instead of having to make their hobby their living. It's like, okay, like I don't know the logistics of art academia. I don't think that that would really be possible just because anyone can draw. Not anyone can be a scientist. So personally, with my limited knowledge, I don't think that's that great of an idea. I think the better idea is just people get paid a basic wage to survive, period. And then if you want to make extra money, you can use your hobby for that and stuff like that. But I still think that he's on a better track than these people. I think art would just be further gatekept if you did make some sort of academia. It's a blurry line when you're a designer using combining images you found on Google Images. Is it stealing? You didn't take those pics, or using 3D models from Kit Bash, I don't know what that is, and creating a scene. One could be saying they're getting their layers from AI is likened to using Google Images, or using an artist's name to get a filter effect is likened to use action or LUTs in PS, Photoshop, I think. I don't know what LUTs is. It's all so new it's hard to say. And this is exactly the concern I was talking about earlier when I made this video. Artists can't do anything without criticism from all sides. All of this scrutiny actually limits our ability to create. Watch the full video if you want to know more context on what I'm referring to. Is it stealing? You didn't take those pics from using 3D models. It says, so did hip hop in the 80s and 90s. Fair use is a complicated subject that is nuanced. Fortunately, internet scraping publicly facing photos is a lot more cut and dry, but it's not. And that's why I'm making this video today. The whole point is that that is also a blurred line. They don't even explain why they feel that way. As does every other artist. It's called a master copy. It's literally impossible to make art without being heavily influenced by what you've seen other artists doing. The definition makes every piece of art made from a form of copyright infringement / plagiarism. If my art inspires a person to draw it, sweet. Go for it. There is an understanding of, I didn't know it was called a master copy. Let me look that up. An original copy, stencil, tape, etc., from which duplicates are made. Keep one of a master copy for your own reference and circulate others. An original creation. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. I mean, yeah, that's basically what it is. So I guess it's like ironic. So then someone responds and says, if my art inspires a person to draw it, sweet, go for it. There is an understanding in art for this. And there is also an understanding that if you do take someone else's copyright and bastardize it or monetize it, they can fucking sue you. Nintendo can take down as many fan arts or renders they want. Master copies have nothing to even do with this issue. The major issue still, again, is content of feeding our work into a machine that is being monetized. Again, like, they don't understand that you can still look at all of Nintendo's characters to draw inspiration for your own art though. Also, artists still draw copywritten work. These same artists, like if you go look at the other video I made, Sarah drew Rapunzel. They do it all the time. So the point is that whole copyright system is flawed and AI is showing that. They're just saying whatever they can, you know? This person says, it's called machine learning, not stealing. An artist studies master artwork by learning and copying while developing the artistic technical skill and ability. A computer now can do the same. It's just learning similar to humans by storing the pictures in its neural network. And people are laughing at this fucking intelligent comment. Like, that's more like it. And it is machine learning. So I think that that definition is a lot better, machine learning, rather than saying it's a master copy or whatever. This is the more technical term, but these people have no idea what any of this stuff means. So they don't even get that master posts or master copies are also okay. So you want computers to learn art so that why exactly do we want computers to learn art? Hopefully it's so other computers can enjoy it. No, it's so that we can expand the creative process. The more art out there, the more creative we can be. And it can also help us with our own art skills, because we get the majority of our creativity through inspiration of other people's creativity. You act like humans aren't behind the fucking tool using it to make the art that's being made. That's like saying, why use a drawing program to draw so that the drawing program can enjoy the art process? You know how dumb that sounds? Bro, it could be a hamster in a wheel. Artists care that they ask permission first before taking art from us and using it. You don't need anyone's permission. We don't need anyone's permission to get inspiration from their art. The difference is art is made manually. I'll get back to this part later. Depending on how you learn and depending on how you work. Ugh, this comment is long. It's so long. I'm just gonna sum it up, but you can pause and read it if you want to. Basically, they're saying the AI is stealing and learning at the same time. They then compare it to tracing, which it isn't at all. I'll be explaining this throughout the video, so I won't address it right now, but it's not tracing. And then they ask where the line should be drawn for AI art generation. But you're not even in the right area of comparison to be asking that question in the first place. That's like saying, where should the line be drawn between a chef's recipe and a YouTuber trying it out in a video without the chef's consent? When those two things don't even go together, and now creates an entirely different conversation that honestly isn't even worth getting into. So I won't get into it, and I'm moving on. Stable Diffusion was able to skirt around copyright by training their program on open source data from a nonprofit called LAION and calling it research. This LAION database is so indiscriminate about the images it stores that it even includes private medical records, Ars Technica, I don't know what that is. It also includes graphic photos of ice being stolen, non-consensual, and much more. Okay, but is this a topic about AI digital art being art theft, or are we talking about websites storing private data? Because you can't mix those two subjects into one, and I'm not going to. We already know where we should stand on private data being stored. Yeah, I made a whole post of this on my page because this is a bad argument. Notice the keywords used to try and get people mad. Never mentions taking copyright material. Additionally, speaking as a software developer, a resource like this is super valuable. From personal projects to projects at work, there are countless times where I wish I had more data to test/develop with, but sadly it didn't exist or cost me. I wish I could have used an AI for this video, because having to go through all these comments, the screenshots, editing, saving, and organizing all my thoughts, this shit took forever. But I mean, seriously, the more people use this technology, the better we can improve. And maybe one day it'll come up with all sorts of new art that we've never seen coming. It already has started to do that with this thing called AI dreaming. And since it's just now starting out, who knows what else it'll be capable of doing. And I think that at some point as AI develops, it's going to start making moving pictures. Not like the AI dreaming that you see here, but more so you draw a picture and it actually can move, or the foreign background can just move without having to do all the work that we do for like GIFs and stuff. With little to no work, maybe even instantaneously. Maybe you draw an image and you put it in and it just creates movement for it with like certain prompts and stuff. That would be really cool. Who knows what else it could do. It says, art requires indiscriminate exposure for every source. You can't curate content to make wholesome art. It does not work like that. I don't know about that. I mean, if you're talking about just grabbing images from all over the place, regardless of if the art is copyrighted or not, then okay. But if we're talking about this being a reason to make it okay for the website to store medical records, then I wouldn't say that's okay unless that's already been okay. And I'm pretty sure it's illegal, so I don't know. Be more clear about your post. But until AI is sentient, it does not have the same rights that sentience does, and the programmers can and will be held accountable for these kind of ethically gray areas, as court cases are already being formed around this and researchers dig into the data set, especially in states that disallow the use of sharing non-consent. And the overall goal is to decompile and destroy algorithms using said datasets. They can rebuild, but it's a shame. And they say not to turn your head on the ethics just because it may benefit you. And this comment sums it up perfectly. Until AI becomes sentient, we have to remember that humans are storing these images, and those humans can't be allowed to just save and distribute whatever they want. So not only the companies will be held responsible, but also people who have websites that the tool is getting the images from could also be tracked down and held responsible, since there is a digital footprint for this stuff. So it could actually help like with the police and things like that to track these websites down. That's my own idea, but I'm not saying this person's saying that. I'm saying that it could help the police, but I don't even think anyone's talking about that yet. LAION nonprofit, 8.5 billion uncurated images, a text from 2014 to 2021. You can read the rest of that. It's just information about how LAION owns Stable Diffusion, which owns Lensa, and how much each of those companies are worth. And again, it's pretty clear cut what's wrong with this company, like how they get their information and all that, but it distracts from the overarching topic. So I'm not really gonna dive into it because the topic is about AI from any program, not just Lensa, but like Wombo and all this other stuff, being able to use images all over the internet for inspiration. I will, however, show this comment underneath before moving on. Stolen non-consensual porn. Who cares if it's stolen in this situation? The non-consenting party's basic human rights were stolen to make it in the first place. Almost better to have a fake AI non-consenting porn than real non-consensual porn. If we have, I did not get that full comment. I forgot to click the see more on that one. I don't agree with most of what they said, but yes, their basic human rights were stolen first. So my takeaway is that we should focus on protecting people's human rights because that's the source of this particular issue, rather than blaming AI for the bad things that websites do and lumping it all together. Sam Yang had someone feed his art to the machine, and I mean, look at the phrasing of that, feeding it to the machine. You know, like some dystopian like AI, and make it copy his style, then use it against him. That literally sounds like the plot for like an AI takeover movie. They fed his art to the machine, and then they made it copy his style, then use it against him, and they took over the world. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Greg Rutkowski's name has been used as a prompt around 93,000 times. An online search of his own name brought back work that had his name attached to it but wasn't his. They're taking credit for his work. Like, it's, why are you mad that his name is being spread out there more? Like, that's exposure, dude. Karla, Ortiz, and many other artists have also had their work trained on AI without their consent. Oh my god, again, doesn't need your consent. When it's trained, it's just getting inspiration, dude. So here's some interesting takes on this picture. Feed his art to the machine. You mean it was posted on the internet? I lost respect for Sam when he doxed a young fan who trained a model on his art because he was enthusiastic about how cool Sam was, which Sam's followers then went on to send death threats and other terrible things. The fan deleted the model when Sam said he wasn't okay with it, but that wasn't enough, and so the Reddit community picked it up and created a new model based on Sam's work because they were pissed at him for doxing the original kid. Which goes back to that other comment about not turning ahead to ethics just to support your argument. The people that were adding Rutkowski's in their prompts were treating it like they were casting magic spells. They had so many contradictory tokens that putting Greg's name in there never made anything that worked like his art. Any sufficiently advanced technology can appear to be magic, and many people were treating the programming of prompts like they were casting spells. I mean, that is the thing though, like honestly, science and technology is like magic at this point. Just the idea of how a computer is made, it's like fucking magic. Like they've made hearts out of spinach leaves. Like it's fucking magic. Magic is science. It's just science that we don't understand. A lot of misinformation is being spread because people don't understand that AI is doing exactly what people creating derivative art do. It doesn't trace or mash your art together and make copies of it. It samples whatever data it sees and makes a new image based on what it learns. People don't like the fact that AI can break down their images into code and learn the pattern. Like a lot of pretentious artists really think that their art is super original and creative and different, and it breaks their heart to know that deep down it's all patterns of code. We know it's patterns of code because AI can break down their images into just zeros and ones or whatever. I might be quoting that wrong because I'm not a programmer, and learn the patterns and recreate something in a similar style. And so for people people who think that patterns don't exist in human behavior, this is further proof that even the way that we draw is a pattern. I think it'd be really interesting to see the breakdown of how AI can understand my art style, because I have a very inconsistent art style. So if it could like figure out the pattern in that would be cool, because it might even help me figure out how to develop a more consistent art style. Anyway, it says, an art student working off a visual database does no differently. Likewise, an art student imitating you isn't stealing. He's imitating / creating a derivative work, and transformative derivative work falls under fair use. It gets even more impossible to regard as infringing if only certain elements that are difficult to pinpoint as copyrightable are what two of the works have in common. The main issue, in my honest opinion, isn't copyright, as that won't really hold up under existing laws, is that the work landscape may change and people are at risk of losing work. And that is legitimate, and I understand that. I don't know why so many people are laughing at that fucking comment, but yeah, it is a concern, and I also think that it sucks, and I think that it's sad. I get why people are stressed out over the fact that they're going to be losing their jobs, but this has happened all throughout history with jobs. It is automation, and every time it's sad. If people have had a career for like 20 years and all of a sudden some sort of machine comes along and just automates it, or even like a human finds a more efficient way to do the thing, so they're out of a job, that fucking sucks. But we still need inventions, and we still need a way to increase our productivity, because it helps with longevity down the road. It helps us to have more free time in our life. You can't just pick and choose what forms of automation you do and don't want to have just because it personally affects you. So I separate my own personal bias of being concerned for artists from the objective fact that automation is always going to be a thing, and it's sad, but that is the way it works. It says, you're technically incorrect. Okay, I just want to stop that comment right there and say, I hate it when people just declare that someone else is or isn't correct as if it's a fact rather than their own opinion. And almost always when they do this, they're not even right. I just thought of a better way to explain it. It's like, one, it's in an authoritative context, not necessarily like a, I think this way. And then two, they're usually wrong. Maybe it's like the more confident they get, the wronger they are, but that's as best as I can explain it for now. It's just a lot of times it's coming from a pretentious person. I think there's a time and a place to talk like that, I guess, depending on the severity of someone's incorrectness, but this person was clearly using a lot of data and information, both of them, when talking. So what are you doing, dude? You're technically incorrect. Derivative works do fall under copyright laws, and that the creation of a derivative work can infringe the copyright of the work or works on which it is based, and the copyright can subsist in the derivative work itself. However, you are right in that the imitation of artistic style, they basically just nitpick. You can read that yourself. I'm not reading that. And then it basically goes to shit because they just go back and forth on the nitpicking. Here's some stuff that I disagree with. Machine generated art is not art at all in my book. It doesn't even warrant the moniker craft. I'm less interested in AI art than in the design on a box of Wheaties. Maybe there is art or craft in the programming or setup of the AI system. People just define words however they want. They're like, I'm not interested in it because it's not a craft. Okay, not all art is craft. So, it's your point. And it's literally crafting the art on the fucking computer, drawing with code, because people do that. They'll put in code and create a picture. If I can find some info on that, I'll put up on the screen right now. What's the difference between me doing that and the AI doing it? We're both crafting, so you don't even understand how crafting works. Anyway, after that, it's all physics and maybe a little probability without depth, but probably very attractive on the surface. Again, this person doesn't know how AI works. They think that AI can't replicate, emotions and depth, when it can. And it's just going to get better as time goes by, especially when it finally becomes sentient, which, arguably some people say it is. It's a whole other topic for another day. They just don't know what they're talking about. And again, they're just like, it's not a craft, but it is. Notice how in these definitions of art, it says of human skill and imagination, not by humans, over and over again. So it doesn't have to be by a human to be a craft or be art. It just has to be the human skill and imagination. And AI is literally learning how to draw from human skill and imagination. So obviously I've used the app to start with. However, I'm generally curious about something. What is the difference between an AI drawing on top of an already existing image with another image, and an art tracing an image and turning it into their OC? People have been stealing poses and anatomical positions from each other for years. The minute an AI does it, everyone loses their shit. There's so many genres of art that exist. How can one person claim an art style? There are even art periods that follow a similar art style. So what's the difference? It's not. Yup. I believe the difference is that some people earn their living with their art. I imagine it feels awful to know that an app is making money off of your property. It's not your property and they're not making money off of it. Ugh. Imagine if you worked at a corporate business and came up with an idea only for... Okay, so people honestly really have no idea what's actually happening here with AI. I'm just gonna move on. The AI isn't drawing on top of existing art. It's more like I look at a Picasso painting and then draw something in a similar style. These are brand new pieces of art where the computer looked at the copyright art and they basically go on to say that they get the code from it and create their own original image. Not only are they right that it can look like the artist, but a lot of times it doesn't even do that. It's just learning from billions of sources how to draw, period. It's capable of copying an art style, but a lot of the type of art that it's coming up with, I'm gonna put it on the screen here, is just shit that it's fucking made up on its own. This is its own art style with its own rules and patterns. Maybe I'll put some text up on the screen of the type of patterns I'm talking about. Maybe it is unfair because to humans it takes years to develop and practice, and even stealing inspiration from other artists require time and conscious practice. Even if you're a great artist with decades of experience, you can't compete with a machine that can produce thousands of images like yours in no time for less than a minimum wage. I mean, basically for free. Technology should be used to help humans get or keep a good living standard, not lowering the quality of life's bar for humans. We are talking here about human dignity. Thousands of artists will lose their job if we keep behaving as if AI is harmless. The thing is, the AI is harmless. It's the people using it and the way the society is built with a system like that in place that's the harm, though. And people need to remember to direct this at the right thing. It's not AI's fault that we don't take care of each other. It's not AI's fault that there's no financial safety net for people who don't have a job for the most part. Okay, so there's another comment that's just like hilarious. This guy says, which one of you artists is taking credit for this humiliating shit? What is wrong with you? and then somebody says in response, okay, but it looked like you. He says, I suppose you think all ogres look alike. But he also said, yeah, that's me freshly rejected from the teat. My girlfriend says I look like I don't speak. Oh, I can't. Anyway, let me go back to whatever I was talking about. It says the Lensa app is a great way to get the general public comfortable with using the software and turn a blind eye to how the data was collected. The technology is so new that laws have not caught up with AI tech yet, but that doesn't make it okay. It's like it doesn't make what okay. All this wording is very interpretive, and it's like, yes, it is a great way for people to get comfortable with using the software, but it doesn't make them turn a blind eye to how the data was collected. There's nothing wrong with how the data was collected. The only thing that's wrong is that people already upload illegal things to the internet. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't make it okay, but it doesn't make it wrong either, because it's just one of those things where it needs some time to deal with issues that we've never seen before. It's like, these people aren't programmers. They haven't made anything that's so amazing and grand that the whole world is going to use it by storm. They don't know what it's like to have to come up with safety measures or rules and regulations for this stuff. And so they just want to keep judging it without taking a second to think about what these programmers have to go through. But that's how people make their arguments. They like sprinkle nuggets of truth in there. And so to people who like to turn their brains off, it sounds like a good post, but there's so much bullshit in between, it's not. You have to learn how to differentiate between facts and logic and someone else's opinion or their fears or their projections when you're reading this type of stuff, because these are tactics that they're using to rally people on their side. It's like with this comment, they're saying to use ignore instead of turn a blind eye, because turning a blind eye is kind of optimistic and stuff. Ignore is more accurate, but it's not accurate. It's more accurate for their narrative, but people aren't aware of this issue and ignoring it. It's not the issue that people are framing it as, and it doesn't mean that the program shouldn't be used. Artists are not the gatekeepers of images anymore. You cannot own a style. They have an absolute right to be compensated fairly, and anything that steals their content should be targeted for legal action accordingly. There is no argument or debate here. Stop stealing from artists. I mean, again, just delusional. You could still trademark a name and sue if the images are using your branding. But other than that, I don't see a way to curtail AI. Encroach many. What the fuck does that even mean? Intrusion on a person's territory, rights, etc. Can people please stop using big words to try to win their debates? Please, even if you're on the right side of something, just stop. So I said if that's stealing, then it creates a slippery slope where any human artist that creates art through inspiration of other artists can be sued as well. It isn't a direct copy of another artist. However, attaching their name would be an issue because the art wasn't created by that artist. In order to train the AI, original images by the specific artist do have to be copied. When this is done without the artist's permission, it is a violation of copyright law. You know, the law regarding the rights of making copies of created work. If it's done without permission, it is stealing and not a slippery slope at all. Don't try to play fast and loose with the facts just in order to support AI image making, not going to call it art. Making copies by hand is a way of schooling human artists is not the same thing as the human inevitability. What the fuck is she even saying? Making copies by hand as a way of schooling human artists is not the same thing as the human inevitability in even minor ways puts their own imprint on their work, even if doing a study by a great master. She sounds like Sarah. They have the same first name, funnily enough. Point is, I just said they're taking data and creating new pieces of art. It is called machine learning. Many people before me have explained this here. They are not copy pasting other people's artwork. You're misusing the word copy, and that's not how copyright works. It's a new form of fair use, which is exempted from copyright, but complicated because there are no laws for this form of creation, which is why we are discussing this topic today. Me disagreeing with you is not me playing fast and loose. Artists have a hard enough time already with being scrutinized every time they draw inspiration from something or someone, and the take that people like you have on this topic is just making the situation worse. Now, I checked back in to see if they said anything to me. They took way too long to respond. You can watch this video again if you want to know more about what I'm talking about. Answering the most common AI arguments. This had no responses, so I'm just gonna move on from that. Next image says, I've seen AI art and it doesn't look that good. It'll never replace real artists. That's not even an argument. Like, I hate it when people like use like straw man arguments to say, I'm gonna disagree with this. We all know that AI can make amazing art and is gonna get even better than it is right now. This comment says, it doesn't look good, but it uses stolen artwork. So the stolen artwork doesn't look good, ha ha ha. Which is just perfect. Okay, what people don't understand is that AI can't replicate a massive amount of creativity just as an individual artist can't paint all of the works of each other. There is a component of human ingenuity that creates new things. If we truly lived in a world where art was completely automated, that would be a paradise. All art would be massively reduced in price. Yet that would not be a paradise because AI can only be inspired as much as we collectively can and build off of that. So you are going to halt inspiration and creativity to some degree if it was all automated. People come up with new techniques for drawing all the time, and we won't be able to come up with those new techniques. We'll only be limited to whatever the AI can do if people stop drawing manually. This isn't a one-sided problem. It's like, why do both sides, why do people in general have such a hard time seeing the big picture? Doesn't make any sense. So he just goes on to explain more of that not so great utopia or whatever. And he ends by saying, you are not entitled for anyone to pay you for your labor. And it's like, yeah, you're not entitled, but it's like that last line was so stupid. Like, this guy is just kind of... Because if you, in terms of labor, if you're laboring work for another person, then yeah, you are entitled to the pay. If you're laboring art in the comfort of your own home, then no, because it's your hobby. Like, this is what I mean when people just like take all context out of stuff to argue. It's so annoying. You'd be very surprised how well a computer can be taught these things. They go on to explain that. However, I don't think that they will be able to get rid of the use of AI. It will probably change and adapt a lot quicker though. I don't see it replacing the job of an artist as of right now. AI art looks the same. It may be unique, but I don't find it usable. Of course, you can read the rest of that if you want to know what else they have to say. I thought that those summed up the point very nicely. This statement couldn't be any farther from the truth. Just 3 months ago, AI couldn't really draw anything, and now it's doing a really good job. And they go on to explain how they feel that way. The pendulum can only swing so far before it comes back to the previous position. AI art may become popular for a time, but eventually art made by the human hand and mind will once again be treasured. The thing is, on top of that, there's just certain things that humans come up with their own art that other people don't. Things that are unique to their creativity, and you want to see what they're going to come up with next. It's just interesting because there's actually a theory on how your art and the art that you produce relates to your own psychology. So that's like another big thing that people would take a lot of interest in. And even though people don't understand that psychology, on a more subconscious level, people like to look at the art other people produce because it does give them a window into that person's soul. There will always be a market for human art, but AI art is here to stay, a quick and cheap resource. This seems very naive based on the entirety of history. As long as humans are around, human art is always going to be a thing, but it might still stick around for different reasons that it did in the past. And I've already explained some of that, so I'm gonna move on. The answer that this person came up with is, AI engines are being updated at breakneck speed, training on mountains of stolen art. We're at a point where it's almost becoming indistinguishable and real artists are already being replaced with AI. Just because you haven't personally witnessed it happening doesn't mean it isn't. And again, it's not training on mountains of stolen art. It's just training off of art. Shit. Hot take here, but as a musician, we've had to deal with a version of this argument already. Computers can make music pretty easily and well. The answer is that the AI just have to up their game until their product is somehow more desirable than the AI version. Not fair to kill potentially useful burgeoning tech. See, these words. Beginning to grow or increase Come on, why do you have to use the word burgeoning? Ugh, these people. It's not a necessary word. The rest of your comment doesn't talk like that. Why are you using words like burgeoning? Not fair to kill a potentially useful burgeoning tech or industry, just preserve a less efficient... Oh, just to preserve a less efficient version. See, come on. If you had to spend less time using burgeoning, you could put 2 in there. It's human artists' job to stay ahead of the curve however they can, just like with industrialization and the move away from fossil fuels. Hot take, I know, yeah, now they're going on to like the economy and the climate and all that other stuff. So point is, music is another creative thing that was affected by automation. People kept saying that it was going to replace actual instruments and that's all people were going to care about. They thought that hologram concerts were going to replace like actual concerts with live artists. People still like authentic things. People thought that, you know, cameras were going to replace paintings. This has happened a million times. This says no, it won't. To me, a lot of digital art has actually started to blend, and I have lost interest in it, with exceptions. However, I see an original piece someone painted, and I can see the brush strokes, the gobs of paint, or bleeding of water. I am drawn into the perfections. But isn't the AI art more perfect because it has less inconsistencies in strokes and stuff? That comment makes no sense. AI can't produce that randomness. AI art is literally random. Not completely random. It's within the guidelines that are set through the prompts you give it, but this is someone who doesn't understand AI, and they're just another pretentious artist. I appreciate paintings more than I appreciate digital art. So this person says, I've painted this last night, and it looks like some sort of like boba tea or something. And then they said, using a print on watercolor paper of an image I generated on Midjourney AI, I made the image to see if the concept works. I like the result. Obviously no other artist name / work were used. So this is how the AI used this person's original painting to come up with its own. And honestly, it looks, if you just showed this to someone, they would think that that's an actual painting. If you didn't tell them that it was AI, maybe if you cut that last part out on the side here, people would just think it's real. And you can definitely see how that could give someone inspiration. Someone else replied and said, yes, it will, and already has. I've literally seen AI used on TV shows already. It sucks and it's taking money away from actual hardworking artists who spent their lives learning how to create. Sure, there's always going to be a need for AI artists, especially animators, but a lot of artists are still being again, Eventually, AI will be able to help animate. And you know what that means? That means that we can produce more cartoons and shows. Like TV shows, movies, cartoons, a lot of it's being gatekept by big companies. If AI could make video games for us or do everything we need a big team of people to do to make a video game, or do everything that we need a big team to do to make like an animated movie or something, we can produce it ourselves. You could produce an animated movie that's as good as, you know, the animation you see in Demon Slayer. You can come up with a movie that's as great as Avatar. You can make a game that's as detailed and lifelike as The Last of Us. And when it gets really good, you'll be able to make a show with people who look very real. That would be insane, but you come up with all the designs of the people yourself. That's the potential that AI has. It says, and horse carriages were replaced by cars. What to do? Adapt. So my favorite person in this whole comment section, I'm just gonna call them Stardust. They say, I thought stealing art looked like this, lol. This person says it only scares the insecure, lol. Which again, I've heard before. It doesn't. It legitimately scares people because it doesn't matter how great of an artist you are, your job can be replaced with this. So their fears are legitimate. Artists aren't being replaced by AI, they are replacing themselves and their own skills with AI. Why do the math in your head when you can use a calculator? It's like, if you really think everyone's using AI to make a living, why don't you do it too? But then they go to say like, my moral code, it goes against my moral code because it's stealing. And again, it's not, but it's like they wrap themselves into this bind where the only person stopping them from making money is themselves. Just use the program. Now you can make a living and you can draw in your spare time. This says, let me guess, libertarian. And then they go into their little argument or whatever. I'll post the comments, but I'm not gonna read all that out. Perhaps art isn't about how it was made anymore, but about the what does it mean /say make me feel. And that's the thing, like when I draw pictures, the majority focus that I have in my drawings, at least most of the time, is the emotion and then the way that the picture looks. So you'll see me in my videos changing the faces a lot or the poses as I go, because I'm like, that's not invoking the emotion I was trying to invoke or the meaning. That's why you see that I title pretty much all my drawings as some sort of interpretive title to the drawing. Or you see that I pick very specific music with a certain mood because I'm trying to convey some sort of feeling that you get from it. And I think that artists really need to get into that more because all that stuff is something that's unique to you and that can help carry your art. Because the first thing that people tell me they appreciate about my art is the emotion that they get when they look at it and the emotion that's coming through the picture. So this person basically goes on to say that art is more than just pictures and posters and little designs and stickers, and they're complaining about how artists 99% of the time just make aesthetic stuff. They're like, it's more, it's emotional, blah blah blah. And it's like, that's a form of art. That's not the only kind of art out there. But this is what I mean when I say people just interpret definitions as whatever they want. All of it's art. So this little like meme thing says, a few enthusiastic misinformed AI tech writers are like, AI media won't take artist's job. Meanwhile, the @SF ballot to potentially use Midjourney to generate an illustration for a poster, folks, that was someone's job. It's more so an assignment, not their job. It's a potential assignment that that person didn't get. Anyway, it says written by someone who hasn't installed or actually used AI. And that's like a big thing. These people never even touched it and they're just yelling at it, you know? Like I try to dive into things myself to get some sort of an idea of it and also look at opinions and research the meanings of things to try to get the best understanding possible before I just like attack it. At least most of the time. I think that's what people should do. There's a lot of work required to fix these images. Tracing a face or redrawing someone doesn't require any post-processing whatsoever. Doing a complete poster from scratch, you have to go through and correct every incorrect shadow. For people who don't care, it's perfect. For people who do care, it's the same amount of work as hand editing in Photoshop. That would be more like a photo editor at that point. Okay, is that not an art job though? So isn't it, by your stance, creating a job for an artist? So they're like, you don't have to edit mistakes, and they just go on about it. You can read that if you want to. So the next thing I'm about to show you is funny, but it's used by the people who are like shitting on AI. So I appreciate the meme a lot. It's like my favorite one in this whole thing, but still fuck everybody who's attacking AI. It says, everyone, AI art will make designers obsolete. AI accepting the job. It's so freaking accurate though. Anyone who's afraid of AI art should just get good. Yeah, again, you just finished debunking a post that said AI will never replace artists. Now you're posting an argument that says anyone who's afraid just needs to get good. It's really contradictory. They're just trying to use any argument that they can easily knock down. And obviously you're going to get a bunch of people who are easily arguing back against it because, again, it's not a very hard thing to disagree with. But these comments summed it up nicely. Something that this take dangerously leaves out is that at the end of the day, the kind of world that we live in seems as good as profitable. It's not about being better in capability in the more commercial aspect of art. It's about being able to get the task done for the money, which is always the metric we want to lower. But even on top of that, why should anyone choose to be better because of something else when it's usually someone else that competition is supposed to exist between? The problem isn't the AI, but the fact that we're always trying to find a way to make something more profitable. And so yeah, it gets cheaper, but it always gets cheaper for the people who are making more money most of the time. And the people who have already been struggling get the short end of the stick, which is why, again, we need safety measures in place to make sure everybody has a basic standard of living just for being alive. Everything else beyond that you can work towards. That should at least be the start of how we treat each other in a society. Or else what's the point of having a society? This is the most gaslighter argument because AI users are literally the ones that don't want to get good by evading working hard, unlike the artists they stole from. Again, they act like artists aren't using it, which again, I just showed you an artist above who made a painting, and Stardust is also an artist who uses AI art, so that's two people. I'm pretty sure that I can show you them mentioning it later, but yeah, so this comment is just wrong. And of course, it has like a ton of hearts and likes from other people who just don't know what the fuck is going on. And people who can't afford to perform the moves necessary to create traditional art get to stay in the cold because the engines are the thieves, not them. Right. The bigotry against people with disabilities and low-income people who just want to make beautiful things without hurting themselves is astounding in these discussions. The engine's existence isn't the problem. Their programming is. Your don't want to get good comment is hateful. This is just basically regurgitated left speak. It's the whole, this is, you know, ableist and it's like, you do realize that people with disabilities are using this. Again, in the video that I just put up, there's people who have aphantasia. They can't see images in their head. You have autistic people, you have people who have shaky hands, like really bad shaky hands. You have people who have artist block for years. You have people who struggle with carpal tunnel. You have people, there's so many fucking issues out there, dude, that the AI can help with. And some people just don't have the time, let alone some people don't have hands. But of course, call them a bigot, because once you call them a bigot, it's over. Oh man, you just trivialize these words when you misuse them, okay? Use them wisely. So here comes Stardust again. I'm a disabled artist too, and I am psyched that my art made it into the database. It was validating to know I'm contributing something. I had to get over this issue to even be an artist and keep putting art out. It's sometimes hard to get over, but being influential is part of the artist's journey. The magic is being able to keep creating and letting the art go, knowing you can make more and come up with more ideas. Perfectly said. And even they admit, just like, yeah, at first it's a shock as an artist, and you have to get over that and look past your own personal bias to see the objectivity of this whole thing. I just want to show you their profile because this was an AI art image, you can tell because of the hands. But it's really beautiful, and this is something that they produced with AI. But yeah, I just love this person. When I saw the profile picture, I just assumed that she was an artist because it looks like something an artist would use for a profile pic. And yeah, she has a lot of art. If she has some social media where she posts her art, I'll put it in the comment section so that if you really care about disabled artists, you can support one here. She goes on to say, I think the thing that makes us scared is that humans exploit artists like we don't need to eat or have a roof over our heads. That being creative is such a privilege that we don't deserve anything else. I think that's what's making this such a big deal. The AI is not the problem. Again, perfectly said. I just love this person so much. Ugh. So now the fucking poster's answer is, the world's top artists are being threatened as all of their work and data are being used and monetized against them. There's so many things wrong in that sentence. Again, it sounds like a movie. All of their work and data are being used and monetized against them. It's like, what the fuck, you know? Jeez, oh, poor big famous artist. Poor you. I can't believe it. You're so threatened. Oh my God. This statement is akin to carjacking someone, using it in a cash prize race, and then telling them to just run faster. It's a form of victim blaming. Don't. I don't even understand that fucking analogy. There's so many things wrong with it. Oh God. And this is the kind of person that's influencing countless people on this shit. I swear, this isn't victim blaming because you're not victims. It's a separate line of work. It doesn't mean you won't have any work, but now things are gonna be a little bit different. Your abilities are threatened by something that is potentially better and faster. That's not the same as you being attacked. And that's because the threat isn't coming from the thing you're scared of. You're threatened by how society will react to it, your jobs, your livelihood, and people's potential lack of interest in your work as a result of AI. How about me as a victim because I can't hire a professional artist who will do any sort of quality work in a timely manner? They just take my money and sit on it for months. When I get better results from people on Fiverr than the so-called professionals, it's easy to see why AI art has a future. Some of us want stuff done, not endless excuses. And that's the other thing, like people... It's this tribalistic mentality where they think all the artists are innocent. There's all sorts of pretentious, lazy, bad artists out there that will exploit the fact that art takes time. What about the people who have to put up with those kind of artists? Don't try to just rally every artist together to make your arguments because, yeah, AI needs to come in and take those people's jobs. Fiverr artists are professional artists. It says, you know, good art takes time, right? Good anything takes time. See, this person's defending these type of artists, and it's like, if you can't get the job done within the time that the person set, then maybe you shouldn't be taking on that job and find someone else who will actually wait. It's a very big, nuanced gray area. You just can't. This person says, I've waited over a year in some cases before complaining. The turnaround time quoted was at most usually 3 weeks to 2 months. And yes, again, that's a thing. And so this person's only solution in response to that is, we'll just keep contacting them. And if not, then get a different artist. Well, what if you already paid them half at this point? Don't you want your money's worth? And again, yeah, then just use the fucking AI. What do you mean go find another artist so that I can get tricked again? Like, no, I'd rather just get the automated version. What the fuck? This person quotes the whole, it's akin to carjacking someone and using it in a cash prize race. No, it isn't, and it's laughable that you would say something like that. Actually, stealing someone's property or artwork is by all means totally illegal. That's why people don't do either of those things. Making AI art is akin to creating your own car from scratch over decades of research and weeks of building to get your own car. It doesn't matter if you base the design off of one car or another. And they go on to explain, but yes, perfectly said. This is the exact same conversation that romanticists had when the camera was invented in the 19th century. For centuries, artists had been striving towards bigger and bigger realism, and then suddenly the camera was invented and their form of art became absolute. They go on to say, if the romanticists had succeeded in banning the camera, we wouldn't have movies right now. There wouldn't be unmanned missions on Mars and the outer solar system. Most likely there wouldn't even be computers, computer games, etc. All of those amazing things came into existence thanks to the creation of the camera. And that's what I'm talking about when I say getting rid of AI will stop us from having all sorts of new art that we've never seen before, like with AI dreaming, or like I said, mass-produced moving pictures. You drawing something from hand and then having an AI make a moving version of it would be amazing. And again, if it frees up our time, like I already said with the whole it can make games and movies and stuff, you could be someone who makes games and movies and shows that are high quality just with this program. You would have the time. Thanks to the AI, you wouldn't have to be like, oh, do I just want to be a gamer or do I want to be a film director? You could do both. And you know, the biggest thing that humans worry about is fulfilling their life. How is this not helpful for that? So don't be a technophobic conservative person that tries to prevent the advance of humanity and technology, but embrace the future with open arms. You will never be replaced. Rather, art is at a point of history where it'll be changed forever and thrusted into a brilliant new creative future. And of course, a bunch of people laughed at that, but just remember that you're on the right side of history, and these bullshit arguments and these bullshit laughing responses are not going to age well on this shit. I love the way that they ended that comment. So their next argument to take down is, it's no different than artists drawing inspiration from other sources. It's fair use. It is different, but it's still the same concept. AI gathers information in a technical way that we can track and see. Humans gather information in a way that we feel and have to describe to others. So we just have clear evidence of how and where AI is getting its inspiration from. With humans, it's up in the air. And again, I did explain this in my other video, so just gonna plug that again here. And I'm gonna talk about it more, but people are basically exploiting the fact that they can track where the inspiration is coming from. This comment especially pisses me off. I hate hearing this get argued. It's like a giant slap in the face to your own effort and thought process. I mean, you didn't say why you disagree with it, so that's just a nothing response. But of course, 55 likes. Oh, this is one of the crazy fucking comments I read at the beginning when I was just like skimming through. It says, I just recently had this very same argument with a close family member after not seeing them for nearly 2 years. We ended on a sour note because they honestly don't believe that it's any different than a human being get inspiration from something else and putting it in their work. So my second favorite person in this whole thing, I'm gonna call this person Autumn Storm because of the like autumn profile picture. That's literally exactly what humans do. Stop fighting it and see it as the tool it is. Why is it offensive to think people can make a machine that thinks like and mimics a human? They are right though, right? Like they get it. You're wrong and I'm gonna leave it at that. More people come in. It doesn't think like a human. It steals information and combines it. So do humans. I'm telling you, man. No, they don't, dummy. Human beings have their own subjective takes and experiences where an AI cannot. It survives on theft. Don't be daft. Well, you insulted me. Now we're done. It doesn't think like a human. It steals information and recombines it. I mean, that sounds pretty human. Oh, man. Literally only seeing you artists be rude to everyone in the comments. Yeah, it makes me never want to buy art from any of you. See, this person is using confirmation bias because I just showed you 2 artists. One of them even put up a painting that they did, so their comment was more highlighted than the other artist talking here. But they're like, you guys are all acting like this. And so it makes them not want to support any artist, period. And that's the other thing that artists don't get. You're doing more damage to the art community than AI ever has. Because the one thing that will always be a thing is that people like to support people. It doesn't matter what you do. But if you keep acting like this, you're gonna lose that crowd of people that are gonna always be there when AI has taken over as you think it'll do. Because they just want to support you and get to know you and understand your creativity as a person. The fact that that argument with that family member made you guys leave on a sour note just makes me wonder what the hell you said to each other, because it's really not even that big of a conversation. So as I understand it then, the difference is that AI, AL art, I think they meant AI, does not draw inspiration from real artists. It basically plagiarizes it as I see it. How sick of these people to do so? Again, this person just in real time got misinformed. They're like, oh, is this what's happening? And it's illegal. You understand incorrectly, nothing is stolen. Thank you, yes. That's their profile picture. And they misunderstand it because of the narrative of the poster. Just imagine how many more people aren't commenting and are getting misinformed by this shit. People, human beings get inspired. Computers do not get inspired. They just copy. I've heard this stupid talking point I don't know how many times from these mindless morons. Keywords, other artists, technically other people. AI is not other artists, nor is it a person. And we have this misunderstanding meme photo. It says AI artists. Copyright shouldn't exist. I can take artwork. AI is being inspired like the human brain. Wow, nice, I am finally getting noticed. Time to hide my prompts and watermark everything. Oh shit, my AI art is being stolen by other AI artists. I need copyright protection. It's like, I haven't even seen cases of that. And I'm sure there's probably some fucking idiot out there doing it, maybe a few, but that's the case with all sorts of people. Like, you remember how the Fine brothers stole their entire model for the React channel from another fucking React channel and then tried to copyright it, and then they wanted to stop everyone from taking from them? People have always done that. It says, not everyone is Shepherd Fairy. I don't know what the fuck that means. Here comes Autumn Storm again. No one is making this fake ass argument. Or you stop it too, because 3 is insane and hypocritical. Now, what this person doesn't know is that AI is getting to the point where you can justify watermarking it, because there's this new type of AI creation where you can draw like a basic shape of what you want, and then AI will fill it in with a rendered picture. So you can get very detailed. You can just change the eye on a drawing, or just change a finger, or a tail, or a leaf. And with that kind of technology, you can manufacture a picture that's inside of your head. At that point, I would say, yeah, you can watermark it. And like, who cares if you want to watermark AI generated images anyway? Because you did generate them, not someone else. So it's kind of this, like, the basic AI generation watermarking is a gray area, but in the long run, it's definitely okay to do that. However, 4 is ridiculous and I don't see that often. Answer. There is a very important distinction between artists who combine reference material, personal taste, and life experiences to inform their artistic decisions versus AI that directly depends on using the artistic property of other people. I love how they just completely left out that artists' life experience includes all the artwork they've seen their entire life. Reference material means other artwork, if you didn't know or you didn't think that's what it meant. Data is a crucial component for AI to function. Should those it took from not have a say if it is being used for commercial purposes? No, because they didn't take their work. They looked at it and came up with their own. And you wanna know what the funniest fucking thing is about this stupid ass answer? You know what this sounds like? That episode of BoJack Horseman where Miss Pickles was trying to say that she loved Mr. Peanut Butter and hated Joey Pogo. She was like, Joey Pogo's like your total opposite. He's arrogant, annoyingly cheerful, and fake nice. You are confident, refreshingly optimistic, and wryly sweet with an ironic, self-aware edge that reads to some as inauthentic, but I recognize as archly sincere. Total opposites. I swear, like, it's just... confirmation bias is a really strong thing. That's all I can say. Like, you know, the other thing that's so sad about this comment, when you say that AI directly depends on using the artistic property of other people, you just defined artistic property as combined reference material, personal taste, and life experiences to inform their decisions, to make that material. That means that AI is also using those things to make its own material. It's learning about it through people's artwork. Does art convey those things or does it not? So this person gives a really good explanation, it's very long, on how inspiration is so subconscious that you can make a drawing based off of something that you saw years ago and you don't even remember because it's in your subconscious. Just some tiny detail of a painting is something that you can use in a drawing later on in your life. It says human beings are not some magical interdimensional fantasy creatures. We have brains that take in data, have activation levels of neurons, be minutely affected, and then use those activations to get results. Also, one of your previous common complaints was arguing against the idea that AI could be as good as humans. So if they can be, there is no distinction, and if there is no distinction per this answer, they can't be as good. And of course, people are just laughing at this person despite how intellectual their response was. You should pause and read it if you haven't already, but we're gonna move on. Like I've said so many times before, you know that someone's wrong when they're contradicting themselves. This person basically talks about how AI is taking a uniquely human thing and removes its human essence. And it's literally doing the exact opposite. It's enhancing and building off of it, but you know, whatever. It'll suck when AI actually becomes sentient and looks back on all this shit. Wonder what they'll have to say. While we are arguing human/artist logic, while the company who started all this is counting their money right now. Again, it all comes down to money for these people. And it is going to stop at AI on drawing. It will be every field. I think they would say it isn't. They've messed up a few things here. Basically expelling people into other job they don't like until there's no job requires humans. Yeah, so that's the whole point of us needing a basic standard of... Like, you do realize that you're making an argument for why we shouldn't get rid of AI art, right? Because that's not going to solve the problem. You just said yourself, AI is just going to keep taking other jobs. But even if AI didn't exist, automation has already been taking jobs. So maybe we should get ahead of this whole thing and just give people a basic standard of living. Person says, yeah, this has been happening for decades. Even here, this has been happening for decades already. It started back in the Industrial Revolution and has been picking up the pace since AI started to get good. The solution is not going to be stopping AI. History shows that doesn't work. We need a post-scarcity supporting system. Thank you. Thank you. There's a very important distinction, and then it goes on to say the exact same thing. I'm sorry, I'm not the only one who noticed. Whoever made this series cannot think rationally. I mean, only if the data I store in my head would also be subjected to the same scrutiny, right? I looked at someone else's art, I'm allowed to get inspired. We really gonna define the goalposts such that an AI cannot do the same thing we can because it relies on images and can't get up and look at the window and look at the world with its own eyes? Because you know, if that's where we put the goalposts, they'll just change the algorithm and give that thing a body and camera eyes and have it browse the internet like we do. It only prolongs the inevitable. Machines are just doing what we do now. Exactly. Fair use. Is it being... Fair use depends on the outcome of whatever you do with the generated image. Is it being used commercially? Is it threatening the livelihood of the original creator? In other words, you can train an AI model using other people's data, but what you do with that model might be infringing. Think of it as the difference between making fake money for a movie and trying to buy a car with it. The Verge. Deverage or the Verge? I don't know what that is. Continue in part 3. Jesus Christ. These examples are so fucking bad. Why would you make fake they're very oddly specific. Making fake money for a movie and trying to buy a car with it. I'm so lost on that one. You guys can please tell me what you think that example is supposed to mean. This is objectively a misunderstanding of fair use. Fair use does not matter if you monetize it or use it for commercial use. You can still violate fair use if you make fan art for your own private enjoyment. Look up any video of an attorney explaining fair use and they will say the same thing. Bro, what the fuck? You claim fair use isn't a good argument and you don't even say what fair use is. As from Google, and then they go on to actually explain fair use. You can read here. Fair use also considers whether the use of the work is transformative. Yep, and that's the thing that all these artists leave out. Is it transformative? The data set is transformative. The output of the AI based on that data set is also transformative. Thank you. AI uses a mathematical model of the human brain, not a perfect one because we are using training functions and other tools to simplify the complex reward system in our brain. The final images made are not the paintings you painted. Your analysis of fair use only applies to the direct modification of a work. You guys actually brought up the argument as to why this is fair use, as you cannot distinguish between an AI looking at art and creating derivative work. And it's like they just have to keep explaining it and nobody's listening. Like you can see the laughs right here. Like people just aren't fucking listening. This is why I say I hate humans. Like, and I do appreciate the fact there's plenty of humans who get this stuff. But it's like we can't ever get shit done because of how stupid people are. Because as you know, when you look at the majority of the arguments used in the whole AI circle, it's taken a lot for these people to speak up for it. And the sad thing is, there's a lot of people speaking up for it who aren't artists, because if you're an artist and you're speaking up for it, they just attack the fuck out of you. You have a reputation to uphold, you have fans, and then your fans might hate you for using it. It's just really sad. I'm an artist and I don't see a problem with it. As you know from the video I just made, I said a hell of a lot more than that, but again, these are just straw man arguments. I mean, yeah, welcome to every other profession replaced by automation. The point I think I want to make is just because it affects artists doesn't mean that you guys get an exception. And again, everyone's just fucking laughing, even though they're right. So someone's saying there comes a point where you gotta question the direction of things and put a lid back on Pandora's box. We have amazing technology, but we are losing our direction, our soul, our sense of accomplishment, in the name of dollars and instant gratification. This is the opposite of evolution. Oh my god. You guys can read the rest of this shit. Anyone with sense gets the point already, so I'll just put these comments here and move on. I can't understand them boycotting Clip Studio Paint for not including Stable Diffusion when it literally is ethical AI. Bunch of bandwagons and herd mentality. For not including it? They said that it's ethical AI. So I don't know what side they're on with this. You guys can explain this comment to me if you get it. Put a timestamp, tell me what the fuck they're trying to say. I don't get it. But it does suck that Clip Studio Paint doesn't include Stable Diffusion, and they're missing out. They're missing the fuck out. Person says in response, artists are some of the most fragile group of people. They believe themselves to be special and unique, basing their entire identity on their styles. And when something comes along to threaten it, they gather en masse to protest. I mean, this just goes back to what I was saying about art linking to psychology. So, of course, they make it their identity because what they produce is largely in part due to who they are as a person. I just feel like the term make it their whole identity is becoming kind of like a buzzword or a buzz phrase, and people just try to throw it anywhere where someone cares about something a lot. So I don't really agree with that comment. And there's plenty of artists who don't do that. So of course, someone whose life inspires them to do anything, not just art, but whatever passion they are obsessed with, probably has something to do with how they grew up or who they are as a person. That should be a part of your identity, a large part of your identity. At the end of the day, if the result is the same, whether AI or human, it does not matter. Being an artist is a job-sized profession. AI-generated art is a tool. Learn to use it or die. What the fuck? I'm surprised that nobody laughed at this one. It got a little huggy heart. There's a lot of artists who are pretentious. Again, this just feeds into the stereotype that people have against artists in the first place. And of course, this comment section went to shit as well. I'll just post these here. You can read it. I'm not about to read it. I think we'll reach a point in our time and age where artists shall need to showcase a stamp on their websites saying whether they allow their names to be used by AI or not, because some artists really don't mind if their styles is referenced. And so then they show this post of this guy saying he thinks it's cool for them to use his art. And it's like, I hope that time never fucking comes, because that's bullshit. And again, you can't copyright a style. Thank you. So the answer here apparently is there are many artists who aren't okay with their work being used for commercial purposes without permission. In a perfect world, you could lend your work to the program and others would opt out. Some steps have been taken towards this, but there is so much data, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm going to tell you guys the saddest part about what this person said. In order for you to hold people accountable on the fucking internet to make sure that they say whether or not they're using AI, to effectively hold them accountable, you know how many people post on the internet? You know how many posts there are on the internet? Billions, trillions, probably quadrillions, and so on. So you would need an AI to track this shit. And I bet you'll use it for that, but you won't use it for art? Okay. Isn't that taking a job? Humans can't track these artists fast enough to stop them from posting AI artwork without saying they were doing so. I mean, if the humans can't do it fast enough, we gotta automate it and replace it with AI. Someone's losing ground here. It's not their work though, they didn't create it, the AI did. AI drew inspiration, etc, 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 and this person says, you might want to go back a couple pics. That argument was addressed. And they're like, I didn't agree with that argument when I read it, that's why I made this comment. Then your comment is in the wrong. Despite me not being an artist, I more or less make wallpapers of pre-existing assets, but I ask permission of the people to distribute them publicly first before making it. So this is someone who's projecting their own job ethics onto the fucking AI when it's not the same thing, and they're not right. Yeah, that's not AI stealing art though. That's still people stealing art. That's not how AI works. You don't put art in an AI. And of course, Autumn Storm comes in to correct this fucking person's answer post. That's not how AI works. You don't put art in an AI. Which exactly, like, you could lend your work to the program. What do you mean lend it? Like, they just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? Where do you people think artists learn how to art? I hope none of you go to art museums. Taking inspiration and straight up mash 4 different art pieces together isn't the same thing. Again, I'm gonna put this picture up here, but people legitimately think that they're literally cutting out pieces of paintings and mushing them into one, which again is still art, but that's not even what AI is doing. I did a whole video revealing that AI has its own art style, so if you want to see all the patterns and red flags that art is AI, you can click that. But that's proof that if AI has its own style, then it's clearly not mushing together other pictures, or else those pictures wouldn't have these consistencies in them. They would just look like the art that they took from. Taking inspiration still requires know-how and skill in your own time and effort. Because, you know, AI isn't doing any of those things. It's not taking from like centuries and generations and thousands of years of art. It's like people think because it's doing it so fast, it's easy. It's just very capable. There's a difference. Consent will never be enough because artists can be inspired by non-consenting artists and backdoor a variant of non-consenting content into the systems. I mean, it's true, but I really fucking wish people stop saying consent. I said it in my other video, I'll say it again here. You are trivializing the word. Consent was taken very seriously in the beginning, and now all you get is a bunch of heavy eye rolls when people say it because of all these fucking idiots using consent all the time. It should have been left as a word used for serious situations like abuse victims and not this shit. Fucking AI discussions and shit. I also don't see why artists are the ones worth listening to, as many other people benefit from this. I mean, again, it is important to hear their concerns because this is their job on the line, but at the same time, yeah, it's like, this is more than you. This is more than us as artists. This can help everyone. So you don't have a right to determine how this turns out just because you draw. I'll show these comments. Every time an artist looks through an art book or visits a gallery for inspiration, they are using another person's artwork without permission. Nobody takes issue with that. If you have a problem with the data collection, I get that. That's stolen art. But the AI company isn't at fault there. It's just buying what's available. The responsibility lies on the company selling said data to make sure it is being obtained ethically. The AI company has no way to actively comb through that much data. No, it's the responsibility of both of them to do due diligence. It's on Lensa and LAION to make sure they're not violating copyright. Like, there's nothing that company can do to stop the other from using unethical image. This person doesn't know what they're talking about, but you want to know what's so fucking sad? So this person also doesn't fucking understand to even get what they want. They would have to use an AI to comb through the internet and weed out that stuff because it's humanly impossible to go through that many sources. Even if you had a bunch of humans, they still couldn't do it because there's just too many sources out there. So congratulations, you don't know what you're talking about. Lensa doesn't violate copyright. They are buying data they never lay their eyes on and being told it is legitimate. Thank you. We can move on. Or not. They're buying data they never bothered to check, including copyrighted content, and could see their algorithm destroyed depending on what, if anything, happens. Also, should Lensa output anything really horrifying, what are they gonna say? It wasn't me, it was the fucking robot. It's not a robot, okay? That was training off the database we willingly bought. These programs are already censoring images and saying, oh, this is not appropriate, so it's blurred out and you can't save it. This person doesn't even understand that. I know because I've actually used Wombo just recently after making the previous video I did, and several times, sadly, when I was putting in things that couldn't even get a NSFW output, it kept saying it was NSFW. So they clearly do have censorship there. So they just go into more of the argument. I'll post it here, but I'm not going to read all that out. Well, most arguments boil down to artists just being afraid. No, it's not just that. It's legitimate. I'm not sure I would say using a similar style isn't a direct ripoff. Of course, that's okay, anyway. Those artists should put their pictures in a box so no one can ever see or replicate their work then. Stable Diffusion is free, have at it, and someone linked Stable Diffusion. Thank you for the link. And so I clicked the link and it actually showed some previews of what Stable Diffusion does. So this is like a basic like paint or whatever, the most basic line art. And Stable Diffusion then starts to draw from that. And it's creating a completely original image, which could be very helpful and help you have backgrounds for your drawings so that you don't have to draw a whole background by yourself, which would be very useful for me because I don't like fucking drawing backgrounds. I hate it. I do it sometimes, but I can't stand it. Like, this can really help with artist block. But speaking of which, here comes the next fucking argument. It helps me get through my art block. You're not having art block, you're lazy. Yeah, because you know, artist block isn't a fucking thing. I'm lazy even though I was spending 20 hours on average on my drawings. These drawings. You know how annoying it is for people to just classify a struggle that someone's dealing with, especially a mental struggle, as laziness? And for the record, for those of you who don't know, this is coming from someone who struggles with ADHD. And only recently have I figured out how to draw around that crippling hindrance that I've been struggling with for almost a decade. You know how ableist that is? Since a lot of these fucking anti-AI artists want to keep throwing that word around, I don't see anyone attacking them for making an ableist comment. Think about the artist's external factors. Perhaps he or she has a full-time job, then uses the image for reference. That's really a one-dimensional fixed mindset. Thank you. Define lazy. Thank you. Art block isn't cured by someone or something else doing your work for you. That's not how that works. Again, had artist block for 10 years, have been unable to put out pictures efficiently for so long, they almost forgot what it felt like to actually enjoy drawing. And AI has actually helped me a lot with just the recent pictures I've been doing. I'll show them to you right now. And there's one more that I want to show you, but I'm saving that for another video. But that's like my most impressive one so far. And if it wasn't for AI, I wouldn't have been able to make any of them. And I wasn't using the AI and putting those pictures into my own drawings. I have the full speed paintings on my art channel. I drew it all from scratch. But some of the color schemes, some of the techniques, I looked at the consistencies in the art style that AI has, and it was able to help me get these thoughts out of my head better. And I save a ton of images. I was never able to make that kind of progress with human art. And again, they don't know what goes into producing the images. These are people whose brains are turned off. They really do think that their art is fucking original. And if I put a background, some basic stock fucking bullshit background behind my image, why does that cheapen the image than me doing the same background by hand? Or if I blurred it out and added my own details. I'm just getting into sewing, and I was using an AI software to help generate some designs I could tweak and personalize. And that's another person that AI is helping. There's so many ways to utilize this tool. Exactly. Now that sounds like a worthwhile use. Exactly, like, come on, man. But I'm sorry, the apparent answer is, can you justify having fun when it's at the expense of someone else's career? The more you use AI, the more it learns. When unregulated AI art is normalized, it encourages big tech companies to keep developing this technology without repercussion. For one, it doesn't learn as you use it. I don't know how to simplify it, but it's like in like a fixed setting. They train it and then they send it out to the public, but it cannot be trained from that point on, that version of the program. And of course, it's going to encourage them to develop better versions of it. Whatever. We need regulations and legislation put in place to protect artists, and we need to speak with our actions too. Do that without using AI and get back to me. Find some sort of regulation that humans can take care of on their own, and then tell me how harmful AI is. And someone goes on to explain how Midjourney is trained on a data set and it doesn't incorporate new information and images. Then make regulations. Don't come for me and the tools I use to create more art. It's not like I can sit at an art museum at 3 a.m. and paint. Our system is the problem, not the technology. It's really about time we move to the next level where basic needs are met, poverty and homelessness are eliminated, and everyone is free to pursue their hearts and passions. It's a long game, but we've been off course for too long. Yo, for real. And make sure you pause to read if you want to see someone explain more about how machine learning works. I'm actually a very curious digital artist myself, and I want to start using AI to use as a sort of template. Yes, regulations should be in place, but this entire thread makes it seem like there's no upsides to AI art. And that's exactly what Sarah did too. She was like, oh, I can see that there's positives, and she didn't list a single positive. I will say it's very important that if you are arguing on the side of AI, say that you're an artist while you're arguing it, because people do think that all artists are against this shit, and it just makes them stereotype artists more. So it's really important that you put that in there. And if you're an artist who hasn't used AI art, or whether you're gonna use it or not, if you have yet to do so, also say that to help try to fight this confirmation bias. So this person's like, if you had to wonder if every move you made threatened someone else's livelihood, you'd literally die of anxiety. Live your life and do what you want. If it threatens their livelihood, they can figure it out. Now, this person's fucking stupid, because if we all did that and never cared about the consequences of our actions, we'd just be in a lawless fucking society and we'd all go extinct. So I'm so sick of absolutism. It's not okay to just constantly be worried about everything that you're doing all the time. It's not healthy. And it's also not healthy to not give a fuck either, dude. Very ironic that Christian is in their name and their profile looks like Jesus. But the point is, it's just not People need to learn how to manage these emotions. Anyone who says that they shouldn't care at all or they have to care about everything are both people who cannot regulate emotion, and they only know how to go from 0 to 10. Okay? If you consider yourself a mature adult, you need to learn how to balance caring about people and giving a shit and not caring about people and not giving a shit in the proper context. Jesus Christ. The more you use AI, the more it learns. This is just straight up disinformation. And they go on to explain that. I came to say the same thing. Damn, so many Luddites, I don't know that word, with pitchforks out there totally not understanding the tech. Yup, see what a Luddite is. A person opposed to new technology or ways of working. I said it right, Luddite. Okay, Luddite. So what they're saying is that not even using the image of an AI in any form is also bad. The concept of an AI art generator is a bad thing in itself, regardless of its use. That sounds like moral panic to me. Well said. This person says if you're interested in using AI, skip Lensa and go download a copy of Stable Diffusion yourself. That's one thing that I do agree with, that I will say these services are requiring way too much fucking money. Like, some of them want you to pay $50 a month. It's insane. This shit should be free. And if you are gonna require for someone to pay money, it shouldn't be a lot, and you should be able to generate as many images as you want, regardless of the service that you pick. Like, that's insane. And I get that they're like a business and they have to make their money, but that doesn't mean that you have the right to make people pay monthly. But that's me just having an issue with, you know, all these fucking monthly services. I really wish the shit should be outlawed, because the only people who can pay for all these services are like super rich people. Everything's just costing so much these days. So that's basically the end. They say, where do we go from here? Hold these companies accountable, educate yourself and others, despite the fact that the person making this post had no education in this whole fucking subject. Whatever you do, don't stop creating. They're right about that part. Hold them accountable, but I won't tell you how. Like, actually, what are you supposed to do? You can't stop this kind of stuff from happening. Literally anyone can download any collection of images and do whatever they want with them. This is literally what computers were invented for. Remember, kids, when you upload something to the internet, literally anyone is capable of doing whatever they want with it. Not all of it may be legal, but you have to recognize that by showing your work online, you are already running a risk. That's probably half the reasons Dr. Seuss never showed half his work when he was alive. It's the same reason why you don't give out your personal information. Stable Diffusion has already released 2.0, which doesn't include NSFW content or copyrighted material. Thank you. I understand Lensa doesn't use the newer model, but Stable Diffusion has already covered their tracks. But people will build models on top of that using material from the internet. Educate yourself and others with misinformation. I wasn't expecting that. Once the source code gets out there, nothing you can do to stop it. You might as well accept the new reality. Laughing my ass off as if we know how to hold companies accountable in any way, right? When have we been successful in this before? Case law is pretty clear on the web, scraping, all of this has been decided. The fact is that there are more people to think about than a minority of concerned artists. Also, there are still opportunities for artists. This is creative destruction. Things change and you adapt. It can be scary, but automation has, in the long run, made things better. Yep. Scraping is legal, but profiting off my work without permission is not, because we have copyright laws. If an app made $29 million off an AI train on my work, where's my piece of that pie? You don't get shit because it didn't take anything from you. But it's funny, I literally said that in my other video, they wanted a piece of that pie, and here you go. They got really spiritual in the end. Don't stop creating. All right, time to create more AI art then, lol. Because that also counts as creating without mentioning any need of skills or originality. We develop as technology goes. They said there will be a time where humans don't draw on paper anymore, and I don't think that that's true, just because drawing on paper is interesting. There's a feel for it, you know, and people like it. People still draw with charcoal, even though you can replicate some of that stuff on the computer, because people like the feel of it. And it's an interesting skill. And that is the day that we really lose touch with humanity. Though that's already been the case, art is humanity. Without humans putting the effort into creating their own pieces of work, we will further lose a sense of who we are as individuals and a community. Jesus Christ. You just make AI images as art and sacrifice what makes you a human. Let a computer take charge of your life, your expressions, creativity. Let it craft your culture, your taste, decision-taking, because that's where AI is going. That doesn't sound too appealing. They literally are just afraid of the fucking apocalypse, like all the alien, robot takeover movies and stuff. That's what they're picturing. Yes, I agree with that. When we create something for an art, there need to be some soul put into it by a human hand. Jesus Christ. Okay. They're getting really spiritual, dude. Most people that call themselves artists are not artists at all. They think they are, but they don't know what it means. I mean, yeah, sorta. It just depends on what your definition is. I mean, I guess, but again, that's just someone who's given their own definition of art. They're all artists in their own way. Entitled whiners. So that's everything from when I was looking at this stuff. I'm sure there's plenty of comments since then. This thread gives artists a bad name. I fucking hate reading, but I got through it all. You proud of me? Well, I don't care, because I'm not doing any better than that for you guys. I'm exhausted, okay? You can look at the last post here. It's just like sources and shit. Progress is being made. They're trying to make people feel hopeful and stuff. Yeah, they talk about some laws. They're putting their name or whatever the hell at the end. Created by blah, blah, blah. Hey, so I just wanted to come in and read these last few responses to like the very last slide where it says who's written by here. So the responses are like, plot twist. The slide was AI generated. Slides created by people who failed Logic 101 and feel threatened by technology. Should have used AI to make better looking slides. And then there was this comment which was more serious, and I'll just leave it on this note. It said, we need to look deeper. The problem isn't AI driven art. The problem is work to eat. The only reason we can't have AI art, or any other form of automation for that matter, alongside traditional artists is that artists need to make money from their art to justify making it because it's time consuming and we need to use a significant portion of our time making money just to survive. You remove that need and things become a whole lot simpler. Artists make art because it is what they are passionate about, and anyone who doesn't need to work to eat will naturally spend their time pursuing their passions, and everyone else can use AI generated art however they want without harming anyone else. That pretty much sums up the bigger picture that people aren't seeing here. And it sucks there's no easy way to get to that goal because there's so many people with invested interests that are also in this process who are working against the benefit of the general public. So again, I understand everyone's concerns with AI art. I do. It still doesn't change the fact that if they're wrong, they're wrong. And a lot of these artists are wrong about their approach towards AI art, but it's not all artists who feel this way. There are plenty of artists who use AI art and who disagree. So again, don't take the extreme and don't go after anybody for their opinions because they're just opinions on art, you know? So I'm just gonna go back to whatever I was saying in this video and we can wrap this up. Like, I remember I was at a convention and I was trying to take pictures of the artwork that I saw there because it was giving me inspiration. And the group I was with literally was blocking me from being able to take those pictures. And everybody looking at it was okay with it except for one guy. And I really appreciated him because they're like, no, you can't steal people's work. And I'm like, I'm not gonna steal it. I'm not even trying to make pillows and stuffed animals. And so the guy next to me was like, you can take pictures, just don't get caught. And he was cool. Everybody else, I'm like, fuck you for that. I still went and did it anyway. I just walked off from all of them because I didn't have time for that bullshit. You're not gonna stop me from doing what I want to do because I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I'll literally just leave. So anyway, I took a bunch of pictures that day and people have been making these arguments for a long time. People have no understanding of what inspiration is. They never have. Hopefully they will one day, but they didn't today. Not those people. So the final image that I'm going to show you is this one. I saw this when I went to go get some screenshots about the ogre, but I'll read it here because it's an even better way to end things. It puts things in perspective about the real danger towards artists. This person says, if you care so much, support real artists with dollars, not just likes. If you hate copyright infringement, 1, don't support people at artist alleys who recreate copyrighted characters. Just like I said when I went to that convention, I was literally trying to take pictures of stuff that had copyrighted characters on it. And the whole time I was annoyed because of how hypocritical it was to tell me not to steal from people stealing, which is why I just left. and did what I did in the end, regardless of how they felt. It says, 2, don't support people who photo bash with copyrighted images. These people violate worse than an AI program that merely adapts a style. Photo bashing uses the art itself to get automatic details made by someone else you don't have to draw yourself. I never heard of that, but I'll put like a screenshot on the screen, but I'm not about to do a whole segment on it. It says 3, the art community in general is cheap when it comes to supporting each other. Artists remain typical starving artists because it is such a difficult thing to get anyone to offer respectable amounts for commissions or products. Our series will sadly not survive past the first book, most likely because of this. They link their Kickstarter, and then it says, the only way this will not happen is if a major company picks us up and mass markets us until we get trend status. That's exactly why I haven't made any actual stories, even though I have original characters, because of what they're talking about here. It's really bleak without anything supporting you. It says, and so while AI may be a danger in certain ways, the artist community is already shitty for the years people work at this with little compensation and constantly fighting against algorithms that hide great work from fans. So it goes back to Sarah complaining so much about how her art is being threatened and how she wants people to support her. But in the video, she said nothing about supporting specific small artists. The videos I have seen of her, I've never seen her talking about small artists to support, and she might have some content, but she definitely talks more about herself and her own abilities than she does about people helping other artists. So it really is like a dog eat dog world out there, and then they wonder why no one gives a shit about them screaming over the attack of AI. It's like, you guys were perfectly fine with kneecapping each other this whole time. You were perfectly fine with gatekeeping everything that you possibly could so that you could continue to have your success. But now that something's come in and got ahead of the game, now you want everybody to fight for your rights. It's like, it's so fucking entitled and it's so fucking offensive. That's all I wanted to read. I'm actually gonna finish off this video now by going back to whatever the fuck I was saying. With all that being said, thank you for watching. Tell me what you think about this whole subject, and I'll see you guys next time.